Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. So today I thought I would take you guys along to do a little bit of a garden tour. First I'd like to show you guys the finished product of the garden gate that I had made with pallets. We really enjoy free stuff, so it's always nice when we can build something useful out of something, that was otherwise trash. So when you first walk into the garden, to the left here is a massive amount of cherry tomato plants. And then to the right, in this aisleway here, is some sweet peppers. So the sweet peppers, we have some that are just starting to come on. The sweet peppers always seem to take longer to start growing and producing than the hot peppers do. So this is one of our biggest ones here, and it's only, like 3 inches long. And then we have a abundance of cherry tomatoes coming on, and we also have a lot of flowers for the tomatoes and stuff. So it's interesting getting to watch all of the bees just sort of like buzzing around and pollinating them. And if I get distracted by bees, well, that's part of my life. I get distracted by everything. So I really enjoy getting to get down low with the vegetables and the plants and stuff to fully like immerse myself into nature and into the process of growing food. So these here are one of our favorite cherry type tomato varieties. And it is called the yellow pear. They always have this nice little pear shape to them, and as the name suggests, they stay yellow. So they ripen quite a bit sooner than the normal red cherry tomatoes do. So it's nice to get like a preview of what the rest of the season is going to come. And they'll keep producing like all summer long because they're indeterminate. So the plants will end up being like 15 feet tall or something ridiculous. Right now they're about 3 foot tall. And some of the pieces, I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, up in there are actually growing through the fence, and it's a 4-foot fence, and they're already at the top of it almost. So they're going to end up being massive, massive plants. So, and then as you come down further, it transitions into nice sandwich slicing tomatoes. So we don't have any massive ones yet, not enough for fried green tomatoes or anything, but as soon as they get a little bit bigger, we're going to spoil ourselves with some fried green tomatoes because, well, it's been over a year since we've had any, and we really like them. So that's part of why we grow so many tomatoes, is so that way we can indulge in some of our little treats like fried green tomatoes. But so the aisleway continues on for what seems like forever on camera, I'm sure, and is just a massive, massive amount of tomatoes. And then on this right-hand side here, we have a trellis up. I don't know how well this is going to show up on camera, but it is a nice sized trellis to basically tie the tomatoes to. So we have some different varieties. So down up over this way, we have some sandwich slicing tomatoes. And then down further over here, we have some of our favorite paste tomatoes. They're called a San Marzano. They will get about 1.5 times this length here. So they'll end up being probably about 5 inches long, 6 inches long, and about that big around. And they're really nice paste tomatoes. We don't grow Romas anymore because we prefer the San Marzanos. Roma tomatoes, they tend to just give you a massive, since they're a determinate tomato, they basically just dump a massive amount of tomatoes on you at one time. And we've also had problems with Romas, getting a lot of issues with blossom end rot. And the way that they set their fruit, if a little bit of a windstorm comes through, they drop a whole bunch of their fruit, even if it's not ripe. So then you're basically just constantly picking tomato fruit off of the ground that already has a bunch of bug damage to it, and it's just not our style. We much prefer tomatoes that hold their fruit better. So that's our take on Romas and why we don't grow them. But and then down here we have our hot peppers. As you'll notice, I do not grow my peppers like most people do. I don't have a straight singular row. How I grow them is actually sort of in a block formation. As you can see from above, it looks almost like a forest, like a tree canopy, and that's basically completely done by design. So then there's not very much weeds that can grow in this super shaded out area. So the peppers, they don't mind being that close together at all. They actually prefer it because then they don't have to compete with any weeds. So we have had quite a few hot peppers come on already. So as you can see, this Hungarian wax plant here, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 peppers that I'm seeing just at first glance on it. And we have, I think, like 8 of them plants. So we're getting some hot peppers coming in. We picked about a handful of them the other day that were ripe, and here in a couple days we'll pick some of these ones too. So the hot peppers are doing really well. All this hot, dry weather is definitely helping. It's been calling for rain for the last few days, and then, you know, when the rainy day comes, suddenly the forecast changes and it's like, oh no, we're just going to be sweltering hot and not a drop to spare. Kind of a bummer. So we'll probably have to come home from the market tonight and actually do a whole bunch of garden watering if we don't get any rain. But yeah, so we got an eggplant coming on. As you can see, it's nice size. And then we got another small one over here. I'm not sure how well this is showing up on camera. It is so sunny that I can't even try to see what's going on. And then over in here, we have a bunch more tomato plants. These ones here were all gifted to us. So they're an unknown variety of cherry tomato. So we're excited to eat them. They're going to be delightful, I'm just sure of it. And we got some of our zinnias are starting to flower. We got some over in there as well. And this is our perennial bed. We'll walk up here so that you guys can see it better, get a better viewpoint of it. So this perennial bed here, it has a lot of asparagus ferns. It's very hard to see this stuff on camera, and I apologize, but I can't really do much about that. But so we have strawberries growing here, and they're sending out runners all over the place, which is, you know, exactly what we want because free food. Then the echinacea is starting to flower and do its thing. That echinacea is echinacea that actually moved from us, from our house in town to Tracy's parents and then now to here. So it's nice to be able to bring a piece of where our homesteading journey all started to bring it to here, and then it actually flowering this year and getting to enjoy its beauty. Echinacea is one of my favorite flowers. It's just, I don't know, I just really like it. But so the perennial bed here, it has a whole bunch of different herbs and stuff in it, different varieties of mint, and there's some thyme and oregano and sages in there. And then we also, like I said, have a bunch of flowers in there because why not make it pretty? Plus we have bees, so that way it gives the bees something to do. And then over in here, it's going to be very hard to see because the Japanese beetles have come and done a lot of damage. But this here is some okra. We have a nice, probably 15-foot long row of okra plants. We really like okra. So we're hoping that this year we'll be able to have enough okra that we can preserve it for the winter time, because in previous years when we've grown okra, we've not grown enough to satisfy our cravings. So we basically just ate it as soon as it was ready to be harvested. We harvested and ate it, and then we were sad because we didn't have anything left. So this year, hopefully, that'll be different. And then beside the okra, we have a very thickly planted bed of turnips. So we really like turnips, but we also like the turnip greens, and the turnip greens is actually something that we do tend to sell at the farmer's market once they get bigger and more established. Due to moving here later in the season and the drought and the crazy weather that we've had, everything is basically a week or two behind because, well, we were a week or two behind. So everything is kind of going slow, but it's still doing its thing, so that's all that matters. The turnips, they're a cold weather tolerant crop, so we're not really worried about that. They're, you know, kind of puny right now and not looking the greatest. But this bed here is all turnips, and then there's also onions planted in there, and then further on there's some beets planted over in here. The beets, I'm not sure why. We've never had much success growing beets, which is kind of a bummer because we love beets. But yeah, so when we lived in town, the soil there was way too acidic to grow beets. So we figured we'd give it a whirl here because, you know, why not try everything here? It's a new location. So we planted a whole bunch of beets, and they've had very spotty, very poor germination. So we'll probably, when it cools off some, try planting them again because they are a cold tolerant crop as well. So hopefully something will come of it. And then back in this area here, if you can see all these stakes that are lining this way here, those are all supporting trellises. I don't know if it'll show up on camera or not, but this trellis here is basically what we got going on there, and that is all for winter squashes to grow up. We also planted a whole slew of wildflowers in this area here, so that way the ground is covered and, you know, gives our bees something to do, and it also makes it so that way there's a lot of beauty here. Then along the fence line we have pole beans, different varieties of pole beans planted, so they're going to all grow up the fence line. Some of them have already started growing. Like this here is a purple bean, and it is already starting to grow along the fence. So that's going to be exciting for it to come into full swing. So the way that we grow food is a little bit different than other people. We don't fuss over having weeds in the garden because we know that nature is automatically going to try to cover itself anyways. So we try to just plant stuff closer together and mitigate the weed issue by essentially leaving weeds. So our walkways here, as you can probably tell, are nothing but grass. We only toed up where we're actually going to plant. It makes it so that way we don't have to fuss so much about getting weeds in the garden. We don't have to spend hardly any time weeding, and gives us something much more comfortable to walk on, so you can walk barefooted in the garden and not have to worry about jabbing yourself on a rock because there's nice soft cushiony grass. Plus it makes it really quick and easy to just mow it, and then when people are walking around the garden to look at stuff, you can just say, hey, stay on the grass, and then they know, oh, I'm not going to step on anything bad. So that's always a nice perk. We've had a big problem with the slugs here and the caterpillar moths and not the caterpillar moths. Jeez, Pete, it's been a long morning. The cabbage moths and their little caterpillars. So we love the cabbage family members, like kale and kohlrabi and collard greens and all of those sorts of things. But as you can see, so do the bugs. So hopefully as the season progresses, the good bugs will end up, the predator bugs like the praying mantises will show up and start killing off some of the predator bugs for the brassicas. Because that's kind of disappointing when everything looked all pretty and then now everything looks like Swiss cheese. So like, we'll still eat stuff with some bug damage, but if it's that far gone, I mean, there's really anything left. There's just the stems, so that's kind of a bummer. The chickens will still eat it, but you know, definitely wanting to grow more stuff for us and not for the bugs. So as the season progresses, the bug population will naturally die off as it gets cooler weather, and thankfully these are all cooler weather crops, so they can continue growing on. But I'd love to spend more time talking with you guys and showing you more of the garden, but I have bread to finish up for tonight's market. So if you guys are enjoying this content, please give our videos a thumbs up, share it with your friends on social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to help our channel grow. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.